So I'm Andrea Alvarez. I'm a curator here at the Buffalo AKG, and I've been here working at the museum since 2017. And I've been interested in working with Latinx, Latin American, and global diasporic artists since I came to the museum, partly because I'm an immigrant myself, and it's important to me to tell the stories of people like me, people whose stories are not always represented on the walls of art museums. And it's really encouraging to sort of see yourself represented when you come into a space like this. Every exhibition that you do sort of builds on itself, they build on each other as you do smaller projects. As I've developed this exhibition, Let Us Gather in a Flourishing Way, taking the lessons from the project with Narciso Martinez, taking the lessons from Comunidades Visibles, and the way that our audiences here in Buffalo responded, what I felt worked really well, what I felt maybe was missing, and seeking to develop this exhibition in a bigger way to serve these audiences, not just the Latinos in Buffalo, but everybody in the immigrant and refugee communities, and make everyone see themselves represented and feel welcome here at the AKG in a big way. This is an exhibition that tells the stories, that represents the work of 58 Latinx, that's artists from the Latin American and Caribbean diaspora. These artists are mostly engaged in painterly practices, so that's a focus that I chose for this exhibition. And the goal really is for people to appreciate how rich and complex the body of work that this body of people are producing is, and by extension then come away with an appreciation of how complex and rich our population is as a whole. So I worked with a lot of the artists, most of them, in selecting their work, and I wanted them to sort of show up in the galleries in their fullness, in sort of being their fullest selves, and sort of showing off their work in a really big way, and to be able to be a complex individual in the context of the galleries where they were going to be in conversation with other artists. And so taking the lead from the poem Let Us Gather in a Flourishing Way by the poet Juan Felipe Herrera, which is also a celebration of abundance, is how sort of the exhibition comes together. As people move through the exhibition, they will see a lot of different themes, some of which are on the walls and sort of described in the text. So the importance of community, for example, to marginalized groups, or their interest in exploring identity through their relationship to place and placemaking. But there are also other themes that are not on the walls, which are thinking about the history of art history and how these artists play with all of those traditions and subvert them. A lot of heritage materials, so materials and techniques that the artists have learned from their parents. For example, pastry decoration, or working with adobe, working with leather upholstery. All of those learned techniques that in many ways put food on the table for them are now in their fine art practice. There's so many artworks that I could talk about and sort of celebrate as sort of representative of this exhibition. And the one that I'm standing in front of, Promised Land by Patrick Martinez, sort of encapsulates his history as a Filipino and Chicano artist, and sort of questioning what it means to use the words promised land, and also engaging with the history of landscape painting. We also have an incredible painting by the Nuyorican artist Daniel de Jesus, who thinks about how we ingest very often the language of colonialism in A que sabe ser colonia. It's these beautiful hands of a Puerto Rican man playing dominoes, sitting at a table, sipping a grape soda that's called colony uva. So sort of ingesting something that's called colony in an uncomplicated way, but it's of course rather complicated to be sipping a soda that has that name. There's no better time to be having these conversations in a space like this one, and to be able to celebrate all of the diverse expressions that these artists are bringing to the museum, to Buffalo, in their practices, through their work, and to see them represented. There was a young girl on a tour just this week who saw the work by Guadalupe Maravilla, Pupusa Retablo, and said, I eat pupusas, and got to tell how her family eats pupusas and tell them about how that is such a cultural staple for her and her family. And she said, I never thought that pupusas would be here, you know. And so that importance of representation and feeling seen in a space, especially in times like these when, you know, you might not feel like you're valued or you are, your cultural production, your cultural worth is being acknowledged, is critically important. And I'm really honored to have had the opportunity to work with all of these artists and bring them to Buffalo. Yeah, you know, the exhibition is traveling to other cities across the United States. And I'm actually really excited that it's going to, you know, not Los Angeles, not New York, not Miami, but to other, you know, mid-sized cities similar to Buffalo, where our museums get to sort of platform this work again and have these conversations across America and really showcase the important work that these artists are doing. So this exhibition really is a great opportunity to come for the first time because there's so many artworks. There's 70 artworks in this exhibition alone by 58 artists. So there's something for everybody. If you like abstraction, if you like, you know, a landscape where you can imagine yourself sitting and taking a rest, all sorts of everything in between, there's something for you to enjoy. And if you like one artwork at the end of your visit, then I feel like I've done my job. So that's a good reason to sort of start with your journey here at the AKG here. But there are also a lot of other wonderful exhibitions on view right now to give people a great introduction to who we are as the Buffalo AKG. It's a museum that has been working to become a more accessible, more welcoming space for our broad global diasporic population in recent years. And I hope that that is resonating with people and that they feel that they can visit us. You know, thinking of Promised Land, for me, I always fought. I really struggled with my relationship to this place. I came when I was 2, but I had this very, very strong connection, sort of inexplicably, very strong tie to Ecuador. And I would ask my parents as a young girl to speak Spanish to me and teach me things, and being able to celebrate the community that exists in the US, this Latinx community that I now see that I am a part of, that this is a whole other, you know, it's a third space, right? It's all of us who are ni de aquí ni de allá. I feel like I have a home now. I have a place. So in a way, this is the promised land that I didn't know I was yearning for my whole life.
The exhibition open at AKG will run through Sunday, September 6th, 2026.